Hey everyone, Adam here. Since we didn't have our class meeting on Friday, I wanted to take some time to give just a little bit of a lecture about the dialogue that John Perry wrote on good, evil, and the existence of God. Um, I'm going to break this up into just a few segments because it's a long dialogue and I want to cover it piece by piece. So this is going to be a quick lecture on the first morning of the dialogue. So in the first morning, we meet Gretchen Wierup and Sam Miller, and pretty quickly they get into a dialogue about what's commonly called the problem of evil. And this is a classic problem in philosophy and theology, and the rest of the dialogue is going to be about this particular problem. Now, they don't put it this way so cleanly, but the problem of evil is usually understood to be this problem. Let's see if I can stabilize this. The God of Christianity is normally taken to be many things. Three of them are omniscient, omnipotent, and omnibenevolent. That just means, right, that God is all-knowing, all-powerful, and all-good. But the problem is that if God is all three of those things, then there seems to be a puzzle about the existence of suffering. How could a God who knows everything, can do everything, and is always good, how can he permit the existence of suffering or create the existence of suffering if he's all those three things? It often seems to some people that if he's all-powerful and all-knowing, then he has the power to know about and prevent all suffering. But if suffering exists, then he can't possibly be all good, because a good God would not permit suffering. So this is the problem that Gretchen and Sam begin discussing. And by the end of the first morning, the key idea from Sam Miller is that you can have a whole thing which is good, and some of its parts are not individually good on their own. So the first analogy we get is something along the lines of a perfect day. A perfect day for somebody can have some suffering in it. Like if you're going fishing, you get up very, very early to catch fish, and getting up early is something of an annoyance or a pain, but the day as a whole can go perfectly even if it began with a bit of pain. And similarly, any particular whole might have parts which are bad, but the whole thing is good. So a song or a symphony might have some discordant or dissonant sections, but the whole symphony is very good. Or a painting might have some ugly sections on their own, but their place in the work as a whole is important because the work as a whole is very good. So similarly, Sam thinks the world or universe as a whole might be very good even if parts of it are bad. So parts of the universe might contain some suffering, but the universe as a whole might be very good. And this, he thinks, is a way that we can account for the existence of suffering. God created a world which is overall good, even though parts of it contain some suffering and are therefore bad. And by the end of the first morning, this is about as far as Sam and Gretchen have gotten. Sam raises this idea, Gretchen doesn't think it's so great, and they break for lunch. That's the end of the first morning, and in the next quick little lecture, I'm going to talk about the first afternoon.